Welcome to Confessions of a Personal Trainer. This week we are going to do fact or fiction. We have asked people to write in and we've got 10 topics and we're going to decide whether they are facts or fiction. Over to you, James.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cow. So first one we've got is from Tim in Ruislip. This is fasted cardio is better for weight loss. Do you think that is fact or fiction, Mr. Cow?
Are we giving quick fire answers or can we elaborate slightly?
I'll let you choose, mate, if you feel like it needs a bit more detail for the
fans.
fans.
We'll try and keep it quick. I would say I think it's a myth that it's particularly any better for you, but I like the idea of fasting, as you know, and getting your body used to using your existing fat stores for energy. So I feel like it plays into that process.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it works as this thing that makes it dramatically different to doing cardio in any other way.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, completely agree. I feel like people utilise it as too much leverage of thinking, oh my God, I did fasted cardio and then still eat like an absolute mess.
Yeah,
so
like it was a hack. They did that great thing.
It
that
should
then
be
means...
like an extra 1 to 2% rather than I've done this, I can now eat like this. So we both can agree that is fiction?
Yes.
Perfect. Right, next one. We've got eating carbs after 8 p.m. makes you fat. Fact or fiction?
I think we might go first and we'll take it in turns.
So I personally am on the side that I'd say if it's just before bed, and the only thing about like digestion with food, I know there has been science to prove that it's not the best having directly underneath it. I would say people can get overlooked and hyping up, like if you eat at 8:05 compared to 8, then it's the end of the world. Like it's not going to make that much difference. From an overall, I feel like the only difference I'd say is the negative effect on sleep, eating late, rather than carbs after 8 p.m. make you fat. I personally believe whenever you have your calories, if it's in the day, in the morning, doesn't matter in regards to making you fat or thin. I would just say you need to be aware on the negative effect for sleep. So I would say fiction.
I agree. I would say fiction for a similar reason. I'd definitely take the point on sleep. I'm experimenting with no food or water 2 hours before bed, and I feel like that's been working really well. Like you were saying, probably because of the digestive component. I think we do eat way too many carbs, and your carbs do need to be accounted for. But yeah, I think there are some carbs that can actually help you sleep. So it's not this, like you say, 8:01, I had a bread roll, it's going to store as body fat in a different kind of way because it's, definitely fiction.
Yeah, perfect. That's 2 and 2 for us, mate. I think we're going to agree on this one. Spot reducing fat, fact or fiction?
Definitely fiction. I feel like the American infomercial type setup would have you believe that if you use the Bowflex, you'll tone just this part of your arm. Classic newbie language that you can tell a gym newbie by someone that thinks you can spot reduce. No disrespect.
In a commercial gym when I worked, the queue for the abdominal crunch machine.
Stop it.
Disgusting. Like, mate, you could. I've never put it in a client's program because people will be there and doing sets of like 100 and wonder why they got back pain. So for those listening,
a deadlift, but do 3 sets of that every time they go.
Stop doing 100 sit-ups before you go to bed. It's not going to help. Everyone has muscles. Everyone has a six-pack. It's just a layer of fat, and doing sit-ups will not spot reduce it. Agreed?
I would just say with sit-ups, I feel like you can tone your abdominal muscles, which is a lot more relevant when you are of the lower body fat percentage, like you say, and you can create some sculpt and some shape through your abs, but you certainly can't do exercises that lose this bit of fat, that bit of fat, and abs to crunch away a bloated stomach, no chance.
So a bit of a subtopic on that, abs are made in the kitchen. Yeah,
totally, 100%.
Cool, perfect. I'll go first on this one. So low fat options are better than full fat. I actually think I discussed this in a previous topic. I will never buy a low fat option. The supermarkets, again, people associate with having fat that it gets them fat, and it's not the case. Like, our body needs natural fats. So for those listening, 4 types of fats. We've got saturated fats, polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, and then trans fats. 2 ones are bad, 2 are good, and I feel like people have this perception that fats are bad, and anything that is low fat, they've 9 times out of 10 replaced it with sugar. or some form of additive that is probably going to be worse for you. Fat is not the enemy. We need it for brain health, gut health. So stop demonizing fat. I would say absolute fiction. Low fat is not better.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like one of the main reasons people aren't at their body composition goals are because they don't eat enough fat. I feel that's really common. They have cereal for breakfast, Tesco's meal deal for lunch, spaghetti bolognese for dinner, and they don't have enough good fat.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And like you say, need it for so many different reasons. And we became scared of it. It got demonized. So the sugar brigade began to work their magic, put sugar in, and it was, a very popular food because it was low fat.
Yeah.
The mainstream are always playing catch up to the best nutritional advice. It's a shame.
I feel like it's obviously it's the least spoke about macronutrient, and every time I educate my clients around fat, they have no idea that there was even different types. They're just like fat's fat, carbs are carbs, protein's protein. Yeah. Whereas when you actually go into the nuance of it and their understanding, like they have no idea. So important one. Anabolic window. Fact or fiction? We did a great reel on this. Anyone that's listening on our Instagram is fantastic. Fact or fiction?
I think there's definitely a thing as nutrient timing, and it's more important to get an uptake of certain nutrients at certain times. High glycemic carbs after training as an example of that to replenish, and protein uptake to a degree. But I think it's been overplayed in a sense that, like, you've got, quick, get in the shower, I need to wash my beaker up, and so that I'm getting some form of protein in. If it's 42 minutes after the dumbbells went down, it's like I've not eating it. It's definitely to not. I'd say this one's not maybe black or white, yes or no, but it's definitely not to the importance of.
My understanding is, I mean, I used to be obsessed with that 30-minute window. I think it's been put up to actually 2 hours now. Completely agree with what you said, carbs and protein after. I would, for those listening, be careful about having fat straight after, because that can inhibit protein synthesis. And apparently, again, I'm not 100% sure, but actually chocolate-flavoured protein shakes can actually inhibit it as well. Did you know about that?
Didn't know about
apparently
that.
So yeah.
Chocolate, what, something to do with that specific flavour?
Yeah, the breakdown apparently in the body to get it into the system. It's apparently it takes longer to do. I don't feel like from the grand scheme of things, but
that would probably, I would say probably because it just becomes under a processed umbrella as opposed to it being specifically chocolate. But I guess the chocolate is the association of the process. It's like the poster boy of processed, isn't it?
So yeah, quick release carbs, protein, within 2 hours you'll be sweet. One for you, Mr. Cow. Intermittent fasting causes / helps autophagy. The expert.
I mean, I've seen a lot of studies that show the benefits of the cell replenishment and rejuvenation in the body. You know, fasting was first described as just something that meant you got more of a calorie deficit because you ran out of time to eat.
Yeah.
I feel like there is enough evidence to support that autophagy is something we know the body prioritises digestion first. So when you step away from giving your body the time to do that, things happen in the body that are advantageous, one of which is those. I think it's what's challenging about this is it's difficult to kind of, where it's all going on inside you, it's like, what does that look like? It doesn't necessarily look like a physical drop in body fat percentage, a boost of mood. It looks, the lines are blurred there to quantify it, which is the challenge.
Yeah, I think there's a massive hype. I know you're keen on this around the 72-hour fast, but the science has shown that with autophagy, just getting good sleep, exercising regularly, eating good food, that helps with it. It's not just fasting's the only way.
It's not
just a buzzword, isn't it? Everyone's on the bandwagon. So
I am going to butt in though. I'm going to challenge you to do a 72-hour fast.
Oh, stop it.
Do you think you got the minerals?
I'm basically doing it for 2 weeks now, mate. I'm starving. Jesus Christ. So in regards to that, just to elaborate a little bit more, is there a certain time, have they said, and is it, I mean, autophagy, they say is linked with like ketosis and stuff. Is it 24 hours? Is it 48?
They say it starts to accrue from 16, 17 hours upwards. So when you get past that intermittent fasting stage into more of a prolonged fast, move into 24, 48, and then 72, their benefits kind of stack on top of each other and get better. You know, I've done a couple of 72-hour fasts and I rate them very highly.
Yeah, and interesting you said about like the ghrelin hormones actually reduce, which is the hunger hormone.
Yeah,
which is really interesting.
And I got to say, the several great things I thought were good about the 72-hour fast. The first one of which was that my psoriasis disappeared.
Interesting.
And
Very
you just realise when, unless you're going to do a strategic elimination diet, which is very difficult to do because you've got to control the variables, take this out but not that, how did you get on, okay, change it up. When you just go boom and you realise that something that you eat has a real inflammatory effect like that, it just goes to show, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there, whether it's dairy for some people, gluten, processed foods for everyone, that can really trip you up.
Yeah. Cool. Right, next one. Protein is the most important macronutrient for muscle building.
True.
I'd say true as well. But I feel what I notice when a lot of people try and lose, I always try and keep protein high if you're on like a fat loss phase, for example. But I feel like as much as protein is, I feel like calories is very important as well to like fuel the muscle. If you're on like a bulking phase, especially, I feel like people will try and get loads of protein in but not hit their calories. I feel like the two together. I feel like the biggest mistake people make is try and go into, rather than a fat loss phase or a building phase, they're trying to do both together, which not saying it's impossible to do, but you need like perfect variables and it will take a lot longer for me. So definitely important, but the importance of carbs, calories are up there as well.
I would include the quality of nutrition as well,
Yeah.
because muscle responds to nutrients.
There's a lot of
muscle
variables
growth.
in there, yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I'm with you on that. Like the protein, not necessarily in the anabolic window, but we know it. You know, it builds lean muscle tissue.
But I feel like one to touch just on women as well. I feel so. There's when I do it with males, it's normally between 1.5 and 2 per kilo of body weight. With women, it's probably slightly less. I feel like what I found with women that have too much protein is their digestion and bloating can be like quite high. So in regards to, they say optimal for protein intake is 30 grams an hour. So if you can spread that out, but I feel like if, as a woman, if you do suffer from bloating, I would look to spread out the window rather than if your target is like 90 grams a day and you're having that over 2 meals. If you're struggling with digestion, I feel like I've experimented with that. And one problem I had when I put one of my female clients on a gaining phase, put her up to 1.5 grams, and her photos, she was just, it looked like she was pregnant, and she was like shit in the bed. So yeah, just food for thought in that. I think yes it is, but I feel like people can get overzealous, and there's that buzz around the optimal amount. So I think if your body does have too much protein, it will just excrete it through natural sources.
Yeah.
But just from a woman, I'd just pay attention to the and that's why I think before and after photos, front, side and back, are very important.
I think another thing that always resonates with my clients when I say it is, you know, protein doesn't store in the human body like carbs and fat do. So you need to ingest it regularly. You'll use it to, you know, repair your muscle tissue, or you'll waste it away. So if you're not getting it regular, there's a problem there.
Absolutely. Okay, brown rice is better for you than white rice. I'm not sure what that is around calories, or is it around nutrients? You want to start?
I would say white rice is better.
Interesting. Reasons?
A lot of the, if you'd have asked me 2 years ago, I would have said the other way round because of the refinement of the white rice. But everything I'm reading now in real time is saying that the rice is more in its kind of rawest form, without the kind of the pigment effect of the brown rice.
You say that's the same for like pastas and bread or any of the complex?
I think you've got to be careful with bread. It's also terrible in it that you can't just, there's no better bread. I feel like rice is not a particular superior carb, but it's best of a lot of a bad bunch. And I think white basmati rice is a good way to go.
I'd always go down the sweet potato route. I think like from food volume, rice and pasta for me, just for the carb and calorie content, is just, it just outweighs it all the time. Whereas I think sweet potato, you can get a good amount of volume.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. And just on that, pasta for me is such a hedonic food. I cannot have pasta without having a pudding after.
Yeah.
It just
Bit of
nukes my blood sugar to the point where I'm just absolutely clucking.
Moorish.
Whereas one of the lower glycemic ones, like say sweet potato,
100%.
doesn't do it.
Yeah, perfect. And eating too many eggs causes high cholesterol. Eddie Abu, where are you?
Do you want to go first?
I'll let you go first, mate. Your topic, this one.
I would say no. I think that's a myth in a sense that was before the distinction between the HDL and LDL cholesterol came in. And
that's good and bad cholesterol.
Yeah, because what's known as good and what's known as bad, they were lumped together, and it was just like, it's all cholesterol. This is going to push you up. I've said this 1,000 times. Lennox Lewis ate 32 eggs a day when he was in camp to be heavyweight champion of the world. Never did him any harm. I'm not sure I could eat that many, but I think it's a whole single ingredient food, fantastic source of protein. That really you want to have a portion of eggs every day, unless it's quick win.
Superfood. 100%. Yeah, but I'd agree with that. I feel like there was I don't know, wasn't that long ago, everyone takes the yolks out of it. The yolks are sort of really good. I feel like if you are trying for food volume, this is something I've been doing the last couple of weeks, is egg whites. So I feel like I think it was 4 egg whites, and it comes to like 68 calories compared to 4 proper eggs, and it was 238. So from a volume point of view, but yeah, ignore that. We're going to go fiction.
Yeah.
And then the last question to wrap it up, this is from someone at your old gym, is Matt Cow natty? I would say fiction.
You could put me on a polygraph. Nothing that you couldn't buy from Holland and Barrett.
Lie detector's going crazy. Perfect. Right, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for all those that wrote in, and keep them coming, and we will see you next week.